Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Stephanie Libertor, talking about Beautifully Brave, and you recently had just a very successful group with your very first time of doing a Beautifully Brave event. We do want to tell people how they can belong to one of the groups, how they can join one of the groups coming up in January. How do we do that?
They can go straight to the website, livingbeautifullybrave.com, and look for information about the Beautifully Brave groups. And we'll start in January or February.
As soon as you get enough people, it'll make a group.
Absolutely.
How much do you have to share at a group? Sometimes people are hesitant, reluctant, saying, I don't know if I want to go to something and bare my soul.
I think women, when they come to a Beautifully Brave group, they're ready. Because typically they're at the place where all of their coping mechanisms are really working overtime on them, and they're involved in a lot of dysfunctional behaviors. And they're really at the place where not so much bottom out, but they're ready to deal with some things, and they realize what the issue may be. So, there is no closure without disclosure. I think that was Mary DeMuth, the author.
Say that
said that
one more time.
Yeah, I think that's from Mary DeMuth, her book, but one of her books. But she said there's no closure with disclosure. That might have been Rick Warren too. One of the two, but
somebody
anyway,
said that. But it's really good. No closure
mine,
without disclosure.
Yeah, and so we have to get to a place where we're willing to lay it all out.
You did. You conducted the Beautifully Brave event, and you spoke and had quite a message for the women in attendance. As much as you're comfortable sharing with us, what did you share there?
Yeah. Well, right after, the Lord gave this awesome title, and I knew what I was going to call this event. I hadn't known for a long time, and it just made my heart sing, as I said earlier in the first half. It wasn't long after that I faced my own valley, where the rug was pulled out from underneath my feet, and a deep, dark valley that I never saw coming. And I wanted to honestly just crawl under a rock and say, you know what, I can't do an event like this. But then I thought, Stephanie, if you don't do this, you're telling other women that there's no hope and that we can't live brave through life's ups, downs, and scary turns.
How does a person find the strength when you just want to crawl into bed, and stay in the fetal position and really not do anything, find the strength to put on a women's conference and give hope to other women? How did you do that?
With the Lord. He truly was my comfort and still is my comfort. I think in the dark valleys, our faith and our hope goes deeper. Our relationship with Christ goes deeper. And mine certainly did, but it wasn't just him. I mean, he rallied some very special sisters around me during that time, because we cannot walk our valleys alone. We're not meant to. And so I had some sisters come alongside me, and they were praying for me and willing to have conversations with me as much as I wanted to have. So it was difficult, but you know what? Something rose up in me. Maybe it was bravery, but
beautiful bravery.
It rose up, and I was able to share a few key points. And one of the things, because of that verse that the Lord gave me, Psalm 23:4, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because you are with me. And so all this, he was talking to me about the valleys, and I realized, you know what? All girls go through valleys, Susie, but that doesn't make me a valley girl.
No, gosh, that's good. Not a valley girl.
Right. And the walking through,
Yes.
We're not walking around, and we're not looking for alternative routes, and we're not camping out in the valley. We're walking through.
Right.
And so clearly he was showing me there's a beginning and there's an end, and I'm going to see you through. He taught me so many things. But secondly, yes, we all go through valleys. And the second thing was, don't let the valley give you funnel vision. And there's a funny story about this some time ago. My family and I'm not a water kid. I don't like water rides and things like that. But my family, we were all at this water park, and there's this gigantic funnel. And my husband and the kids went on this. They're like, Mom, let's go. And finally, I said, okay, I'll take one for the team. But I was such a nervous wreck. I was nearly hyperventilating because I was so looking at how big the funnel was, how wet am I going to get? And I thought, this is the day of my death. So basically, funnel vision is looking at our circumstances.
Yes.
And because we can really feel done in by looking at the circumstances. So don't have funnel vision.
I think of Peter stepping out of the boat, and then suddenly all he can see is the giant waves around him instead of keeping his eyes on the Lord, where he sunk as soon as he took the eyes off and started looking at the problem instead.
That's exactly right.
So I love that. Okay, no camping out in the valley. You get to walk through.
Right.
No funnel vision.
Right.
Again.
And the third point.
Yes.
This is the most important one. The most important one is remember your history. And the history that I'm talking about is your history with the Lord. And if we had time, I could go into how the Israelites, how God was always telling them, remember, build this monument and remember, hold this festival and remember, do this and remember, because he never wanted us to forget. Why was he always telling us to remember? Because he knows we tend to forget. So I needed to remember how God was faithful to get me through the last valley, how he was faithful to get me through this and that and the other thing 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 17 years ago. And when I remembered, it caused me to praise.
Yes.
And I could thank the Lord that he is unchanging. He's the same God who's going to get me through this dark hour now. And what do I have to fear?
Exactly.
And that's why he tells us, don't fear. I mean, Jesus told us in John, I think it was John 16, that in this world you're going to have trouble. But take heart, I've overcome.
Yes.
So we got to keep our eyes focused.
How many times are the words fear not in the Bible? Like, I've heard 366.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't counted, but I heard one for every day plus leap year that you can remind yourself, fear not. And that's not even a suggestion.
Right.
It's something that's a commandment. That's a don't fear. Although it's given in the grace and love that he does, that is only his way.
Yes.
But, okay, those are beautiful three things. Now, what did you find in our closing minutes? The act of not forgetting, but reminding yourself. How did that lift you from point A to a point B of praise?
How did it get me from point A of wanting to crawl under a rock and to praise?
Yes. How does navigate that? Because those are two completely different places to be.
Oh, sometimes it was looking through my journal and just looking through multiple journals and opening up and seeing how he answered prayer. And sometimes it was just a deliberate of, okay, focus on what was my last difficult time? Well, it was this. And then I thought about that and how he got me through and what my needs were at that time and how he met them physically, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, we have to remember. And that's how, I'm like, Lord, how, it didn't take away the pain of my current circumstance, but I know that I don't travel that valley alone.
Right. Sometimes it's not the situation that gets transformed. It's our entire way of approaching it, our entire attitude, and our entire place of where we are spiritually in it that is transformed and can make all the difference in the world. You being able to offer that kind of hope to the women that attended and that will be attending in your groups, what's that mean to you?
It's what he's called me to, and it's it's the gift back to him, you know.
Again, do you see some of the women that then get to participate going forth and showing hope to other women? Does this thing have kind of like a ripple effect?
Absolutely, it does.
Anything you can share?
Well, some of the women who've been through groups in the past will be featured on the website. You know, some of them with their names, and some of them will be anonymous. But I have many stories that I'm working on and editing for the website, so they're sharing. I had one of the women who shared it at the Beautifully Brave event in September was from a group, and it was her very first time sharing publicly. And she said her knees were knocking, but she was fabulous. And, you know, whenever there's somebody there sharing their story, there's always somebody in the audience, somebody who needed to hear that message. Yeah. And
there's somebody right now saying, I needed to hear this today.
I believe it.
Yeah, no one can tell a person's story like the person. And there's no way to tell it wrong. It's your story.
That's right.
So to be able to share these and lift each other up is quite a beautiful thing. Where do you meet?
Well, I'm actually looking for a new place to meet. We've met at various churches. We've also met at Pregnancy Support Center previously in years past. So I'm looking for a place, but
are you taking nominations for location?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hence, can someone contact you and say, well,
yes,
I know a great place? What's the best way to reach you, Stephanie?
The website, livingbeautifullybrave.com. There's a way to contact me, even if you don't want to fill out the form at first, but you can email livingbeautifullybrave@gmail.com as well if you want to email and just reach me that way.
And who should attend?
Who should attend a group? Somebody who wants to finally be free from her past. Because we can't move on with our future until we really deal with our past. It affects our present.
Well, you hit all three there.
Yeah, yep.
Important stuff, an important message. And again, I'm just sure on this day when a lot of people are out shopping right now, you've really hit the nail on the head for somebody. And I appreciate you being here so much. Again, how can people get your book? How can they get Unbound?
They can get Unbound at Pregnancy Choices. They can pick it up there. They can order it on Amazon. They can go to the livingbeautifullybrave.com website.
Okay, it's livingbeautifullybrave.com. Stephanie Liberatore, thanks for all you do in our community.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you for having me.